Hi, everybody. Janet Eichorst here. Welcome to episode 10 of this podcast series. I wanted to start just by taking a few breaths together to kind of be in heart coherence, I want to say. And let's just see what wants to come forward here. And I am intending that we hold a very strong field of unconditional love. So I like to put one hand on my sacred heart and one hand on my belly, and let's just take a couple breaths here. Thank you, everybody, for that. I was doing that before I hit the record button today and just kind of considering what wanted to be talked about today. And there's so many ideas I get. And the thing that I kept coming back to is now. Now. In this moment I am in February 2026. And as a reminder, these recordings are timeless, so it does not matter when you listen. The energetics and the ideas and what comes through here are fitting to listen to whenever you happen to watch or listen. So back to now. It is in linear time, February 2026. Boy, has this been a big year. I think about from the last time I recorded to now even, and it seems like it's been multiple eternities, not even just one eternity. And there's so much happening in our world that I am getting to pause more. And I want to say the way that I'm pausing is different. There's a depth available to what I call my God self or my higher levels or the big me, the all that is me. And when I pause and use that breath, it seems like there's so many things, or how do I want to say it? Perspectives or knowings or shifts that happen in those pause moments. And there's been a lot of extreme sensations and revelations. And I know we've talked about this and we hear this all over because it's such a core way of operating in this world, and that is to live from the inside out. And so how we react and how we're present to whatever our stimuli are here, inside or outside, really matters. That determines the quality of my experience here. Let's take a breath on that. And my experience is not just seemingly here in this body on this planet Earth. Experience is it's nature, it's the cosmos, it's the all that is, it's all my brothers and sisters in many different dimensions. So those pauses allow an alignment, many alignments to happen, more access, and sometimes I get new perspectives on things. And this is one of my gifts here on this planet, is that my perspective tends to be quite a bit different than other people's. And so those moments where I just get to see, like, what is happening in this now? And I have to say that I don't follow the news in terms of watching newscasts. I get bits and pieces. And that's a way for me to stay in touch with what I feel happening on the earth and sort of what the collective is, how the collective is responding to what's happening. And we've talked about this before. I mean, media is a form of propaganda. You can say it that way, meaning that what is being shown on the news might not be the same experience that you would have if you were right there witnessing something, right? There's always a viewer that has a perspective about what's actually happening. And I still get emails and will catch glimpses of what is being talked about in reality. And I have to say, there's a lot of things that are coming out now. And we know that there's been separation patterning that's happened where when people are not their true organic selves, they act in ways that are not unconditionally love based. And that causes harm to others. That creates greed where I want more money or more property or more whatever than I actually need. And when that level of separation, that disconnection from unconditional love gets so extreme, really bad stuff happens where people get harmed in unimaginable, cruel ways. And a lot of the systems that we've been operating in and under have not had the best interests of humanity at heart because they're in separation patterning. And we are getting to see aspects of this that are, I have responses to them, right? I feel sad. They're so extreme that it's almost unbelievable that people that we have given authority to, perhaps elected as officials, even teachers, even clergy, people that we have put in positions to guide, lead, take care of our needs on some level or the needs of our children. Those people have not acted in integrity in terms of in alignment with unconditional love. And I've been aware of a lot of these dynamics for a very long time. And I have to say that I'm still surprised. And in those moments, I could go a lot of different directions at some of the stuff that I've witnessed and seen. And that's where I go to as my go-to method to breathing, being in my heart, and not trying to control any of my emotions or responses. And I get to tend to those parts of me that perhaps get triggered by similar things that have happened in my world in various points in time that are similar enough, maybe to a much lesser degree than some of the things I am shown that are happening here, but it's similar enough that that old pattern comes up. This is a deep time of what we call healing and getting rid of, resolving, transmuting those electromagnetic charges that have been stored somewhere. It might be a belief, it might be something in my body. Let's take another breath here. My encouragement always to you and for me and for all of us is to stay in our center, where that true God consciousness, unconditional love based essence of ourselves is. It's always here, and we don't always have the access to it, which allows us to stay in our center. And when we take those pauses, those breaths, and are in the now, even when I may be experiencing something that's not happening now, can make all the difference. That allows those channels, those moments of grace to be here. We can shift so quickly now, and things are accelerated. And I certainly encourage all of us in every now to make really great choices about how we use our life force energy and our power. Our power is infinite. Our perspective is vital. We are beyond, though from my lens, choosing sides, making others right and making others wrong. Now, I'm not saying that people's behavior is not abhorrent, and I'm a huge believer in taking responsibility for myself and for everybody taking responsibility for their choices and cleaning stuff up in whatever way it needs to be cleaned up. There are ways sometimes that I need to be verbal with people when I color outside the lines in a negative way and cause harm. I don't do this intentionally. And sometimes in this now, I'm not attentive enough that I do things that are not in alignment with my moral and ethical compass. So, cleaning things up in the now, the most vital part of that is modifying my behavior, right? So from the inside, first off, forgiveness is an absolute, right? Like, gosh, that could be taken in ways that I don't intend for it to be. I believe in people taking responsibility, yes. I don't believe that we should let people run around causing harm to each other. As a society, that serves no purpose. And I and we all have done things that have not been in our integrity. And I am not one to judge another and hold that judgment in place to make them wrong and live from that wrongness, where I put them in a box of wrongness. And this is where forgiveness comes in. You know, I don't know what your spiritual belief is and what your idea of good orderly direction, universal intelligence really is. But from my lens and my experience, that is unconditional love, and that is forgiving. So forgiveness of myself is so important in this process. Forgiving my judgments, forgiving others. There's that phrase, they know not what they do. I know what that means. I've done all kinds of stuff where I've not acted in a way that I feel great about. And I clean that up. So when I hold that level of unconditional love and that level of forgiveness in my heart, it changes everything. And it doesn't mean that I don't have emotional responses to stuff that I see happening, because I do. Because I care so much about humanity, about life itself. I mean, as I talk about this, I feel the tears because I really do love life. I really do. And I don't like to see people get harmed. And I also don't believe in victimization either. Let's take a breath here. So, how in this now can you be present to whatever you're feeling and whatever is happening and not get stuck? When I took those breaths before I started and hit the record button today, it was a real opportunity for me to let go of everything I was thinking about in that moment. I really have committed to going for it on this podcast and in all the areas of my life. And that means that I get to continually look at what's appropriate and what's not. And when we share these sacred moments together, I really want us to take advantage and be present to our biggest versions of ourselves and as much love as possible. There's a phrase that came through a client session, and blessings to the woman. She gave me permission to share about this. The phrase is, let your faith be infinite. And what does that really mean? To me, that means I believe absolutely in unconditional love. I believe that things can shift instantaneously. I believe that miracles are possible. Why? Because I see them all the time. A shift in perception is a miracle. When I no longer judge people in a certain way or act in a certain way that's out of my integrity, when I shift patterns that have caused me personally suffering or caused others to suffer, when those shifts, that to me is a miracle. Because there were times where I thought it was impossible to change. That's not true. That's a belief. I am not in charge of the outcome in terms of how that happens. And I want to be in this now enough to be present to what's happening, to grab those choice points and live in this now fully with as much of my whole self here. Nothing would make me happier to see all of us doing that. And we are. I know that we are. And we continue to increase that force field of unconditional love. So, in this now, how can you be more present? How can you be more kind internally first? And how can you have a perspective on what's happening and what you're witnessing so that you can hold more love and allow those patterns that are not love-based to change? When I don't hold old patterns in place, there is more freedom for them to change. Things are moving very rapidly right now. I talk about that sweet spot, and I really would love for all of us to stay on the crest of that wave where we can be present in every now, even if we're experiencing sensations from whenever, even if I am feeling such levels of joy and happiness, and I see that others aren't, the more that I radiate and hold those levels of joy, those levels of possibility for all, and love more, that shifts reality. Let's take this moment to be love more. Yeah? Open up the power of your cells, the power of the God source that you are, that force. It's infinite in nature. Allow that infinite force to be more powerful within you and radiate outward. And use your breath to do that better. Feel that force field of light that you are. Let that happen cellularly, so you literally are glowing in a force field of light. That's the power, that's the potential that you have. Breathe into your belly. Relax your shoulders. And be the most beautiful, amazing version of you that's already within. So much love to you. Many blessings. And may you navigate every now with such grace and so much internal power, that pure kind, that everything around you shifts in really beautiful and brilliant ways. Thank you.